am having a very bad day. I am in no mood. This, today, is one of the worst days that I've had in a long time. I'm not in the mood to play with anybody.
The Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty. Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Today we are live on YouTube for episode 103. And we've opened up our phone lines to talk about probably one of the worst days in sports history, at least that I can remember, in recent memory. Everything is just ass backwards. It's bananas right now, folks. So we're live on YouTube, 813-433-0323. Give us a call and we'll talk about whatever you like. This just sucks. Everything sucks right now. I have no other way to explain it. You know, we wanted to sit down and record this episode, and we wanted to talk about a lot of what's going on with the Bucs right now, because there is a lot going on with our Buccaneers today. UniWatch dropped a mock-up of what appears to be the new uniforms. It is not an exact leak of the uniforms, but we wanted to talk about that. We wanted to talk about the Tampa Bay Times Rick Stroud report that says the Bucs are ready to go all in on Tom Brady. Thanks for calling, CFP. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Lorenzo Guerra, and I'm calling from Tampa, Florida.
Lorenzo, what is going on, my man?
Well, I just have, this little bit of, kind of a weird question. And so, who am I talking with right now?
This is Rhett. Evan is also
and we're
here.
Live on the show?
Yeah, we're live right now.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, is the reason you have not blocked Bucs Planet Podcast, is that because you would not know where to get your thumbnails from?
I'm assuming this is Will Neely. Sounds just like you, buddy.
Thanks. Yes, this is who it is.
Okay, what's up? So let's talk. I'm glad that you called in, because now we actually have some content worth a damn. We don't have to talk about the coronavirus. We don't have to talk about Tom Brady. Let's talk about what's going on between you and I. Because I am very curious. It's been a few years. Let's be honest with ourselves. Well, let me get my side out. I'll allow you to get your side out, and we'll talk about this like grown-ups. It's been about 2 years. You kind of came around, you started your show, and you would self-promote in our comments section. Which, first off...
I did that once.
No, you did that multiple times. It is... You might not see it as disrespectful, and it's not the worst thing that you could do to somebody, but it's common courtesy. It is etiquette, buddy. I'm not going to go out of my way to go on your show where people are looking at your content and say, man, my content is way better than this guy. So, don't act like you only did it one time. You and the other account that does it, I don't know if it's a buddy of yours, I don't know. But it's happened for a little while. Now, we're professionals. We've been doing our show for a long time. So I've ignored it. I haven't given you the attention that you seem to need so badly. Now you've called into our show, and this is what we're going to open up things and talk about. So I just want to talk about it. What was the beef? Because we never, ever did anything to you to start things off.
Well, first of all, I thought this was Evan or Bucks Wave or whatever his name is.
Nope, this is Rhett. I think Evan is still on the call. Evan's right here.
Okay. Well, first off, I would also just like to say that, I just mostly, this is how it started. So I'll just disagree with half the things Bucks Wave says, and then I'll say something, and then I'll just get like talked down to. So then I was like, okay, and then I just make my own podcast, and then I do not find it disrespectful at all to comment, like, listen to my podcast on your podcast. I don't understand why that's a problem.
It's etiquette.
I don't know if you
it's
don't
etiquette.
like competition.
It's etiquette. It's
etiquette for what?
Because self-promotion is fine, but self-promoting under somebody else's product is just not proper etiquette. And I'm sorry that you don't seem to understand that. I know it doesn't seem like the worst thing in the world, and it doesn't hurt my feelings personally, but it's just not what you do. You make your own social media, you make your own brand, and you do that for yourself. You don't go on another show and promote yourself. It's just not etiquette. It's not professional.
Yes. So I'm a high schooler.
Okay,
and this
that's
is not
great.
my career.
This
So,
is not my career
like,
either. I started this podcast in high school. Evan is still in high school.
Evan is still in high school.
Yes. I don't know any other way that I can explain that to you. But this is not our career either. This is a hobby, as it is for you as well. But there are etiquette to things. And when you're fringe media, when you're, quote-unquote fan media, there's still etiquette. It's not, like I said, it's not anything that hurt our feelings. It's just something that you don't really do. It's like an unspoken rule.
Okay, yeah, I was not given the podcast handbook, but
there's
a
a lot of them out there. I know Brent Mulberry of the Pewtercast. If you ever need advice, hit him up. He's very knowledgeable.
Okay, now I want to talk about something else too.
Okay.
I want to talk about the special teams unit. Okay, no one talks about it.
Okay.
But we have one of the worst special teams in the league, efficiency-wise. If you just look at it overall, from a kick returning standpoint, punt returning, kicking field goals, and punting, they're all significantly below average. So I don't understand why no one's talking about how, we might need a new punter. We might need, a new kicker. Now, I know we just drafted Matt Gay, but I do think that a competition would be good for him, and maybe even you cut him if he doesn't. His extra point percentage is 27th in the NFL, and his kicking accuracy range from 30 to 39 yards is ranked 32nd in the NFL. He's the worst kicker from that range. And so I just don't understand why no one is talking about the special teams unit, because that can make a difference in games.
I'm sure it can. You're not wrong. We've been in positions before where we've had kickers leave points on the board. It's something the Bucs have had experience with over the past few years. I think the only reason for myself, I can't speak for Evan, but for me, the reason it's so easy for me to let it roll off of my back is because Matt Gay is a rookie kicker. He came in, and I'd say overall, he showed us some glimpses of what could be the next great kicker in Tampa Bay. He looks a hell of a lot better than a lot of the other kickers we've had in the past. Over the last 3 or 4 years, I'd say so. So, I'm ready to give Matt Gay another shot. I don't know about Evan. Evan, are you still there? You want to weigh in?
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat with Matt Gay, kinda. He's a rookie, and he showed some promise. Obviously, those numbers from 30 to 39, they're not good. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's obviously it has to be better next year or whatever this year, or else he probably won't be maybe even on the team. But I will agree with you on the kick return and punt return, because I believe that has to be better. That's bad. They're not getting anything out of their special teams there. However, you're looking at Matt Gay, and it almost seems like you'd almost rather the circus that Aguayo was, or a Kyle Brinsda, or a Nick Folk, where Matt Gay. Yes, you should have won the Giants game, right? And I understand that. Yeah, obviously he has to make that field goal. I was getting there. And he obviously has to do that. And obviously, if he makes the kicks in the Falcons game, it never goes to overtime. And Jameis Winston never throws that pick six. But like I said, he's been efficient at times. And for some reason, in Raymond James Stadium, apparently people say it's one of the hardest places to kick. I don't know why. But Greg Allman said he talked to a few people, and they ranked it like one of the harder places to kick. So obviously, there's no exact science to it, I don't think. But I'm willing to give Matt Gay and the whole special teams unit another year. Obviously, the kicking and punt return game has to be better, and obviously the overall special teams unit has to be better. I'm just not willing to pull the plug completely on after one season.
Yeah, like I don't even understand why Goomba Wale is on the roster. Like I don't know how he made an NFL roster. I mean, all he does is he'll get. I think he averaged, when I looked this up, he was the 56th ranked kick returner because teams use multiple kick returners, which means most teams' backup kick returners are better than him, and he was our highest ranked one. So I don't see him making the roster next year. What do you think about that?
Well, I personally think they kept him because in the preseason he showed he could pass block, and then it just didn't translate in the regular season. So, I mean, I do agree they need more from him in the kick returning or wherever he is at. I believe that if TJ Logan hadn't gotten hurt, he would have been sort of that full-time guy. Unfortunately, he did get hurt, so they couldn't really do much about that. To me, his roster spot, Ogunbowale's roster spot, all depends on who they bring in this offseason.
Ogunbowale was a guy that I liked over the last few years. I remember the last 2 preseasons, I had some really good things to say about him. He showed some good glimpses of downhill running. He was able to move the chains, shake some guys. In the return game, he has been lackluster, and I think he needs to be off of that special team squad altogether. At least take the captain's patch off of his chest, because he really didn't do anything to help us in that unit. But I can see why he made the team, but I definitely think depending on what the Buccaneers do in that running back room this offseason, it could shake things up for him or Peyton Barber. One of those two guys is probably going to be the odd man out, if I had to guess.
Yeah, the whole special teams captain thing, I talked about it on my show. It didn't even make sense because on his very first play of special teams, in week 1, he lets up a block punt. He misses his block. Guy goes right through, blocks the punt in the 49er game. And he's our special teams captain? That doesn't make sense. But another thing, too, is I'm very concerned with the state of our secondary. A lot of people, it got better, but I still think we need to sign like a veteran, a veteran corner or some sort that can lead our young players. What do you guys think about that?
I think that's what the Bucs have their sights set on, at least one of the free agent signings. A name that we had brought up before was Tony Jefferson. I know he's not a corner. They mostly play him as a safety, and maybe they would play him as a safety here or plug him in anywhere, to be honest. But getting another veteran in the backfield would not hurt whatsoever. I don't think the answer is going to be drafting one of those guys. Now, Tony Jefferson in particular, I brought that name up because we had mentioned him before, but last I had read, it seems like the Bucs are concerned about that injury. I don't know how true that was. I don't know how plugged in the source was. I believe it was J.C. Cornell, who is a little 50-50 at times. But last I heard, the Bucs are concerned about that, but I think he's a guy who could fit back there. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, Tony Jefferson in the safety, I definitely believe they have to add, a safety to the mix there. And I mean, I do agree that I think they should add. It doesn't have to necessarily be a starter per se at corner, but I think they should add some type of veteran just to bring experience to a room that really doesn't have it. I mean, I'm a believer in letting the kids, be able to develop and play, and they did do well down the stretch. But I do believe that a veteran corner probably should be brought in because right now it is a ton of youth in the secondary.
All right, well, we got some other calls coming in, so we're going to have to let you go. But I appreciate you calling in, and I'm glad we could kind of figure out what was going on. So no hard feelings. We're good from here on out.
Okay, yeah.
All right, have a good one, buddy.
You too.
See you. All right, so that was Will Neely. Folks, people are in the chat right now, and they don't really know what's going on. We opened the show, and this is a guy who has another podcast. We had some weird unspoken beef going on with us for a little while, and he called in to try and straighten that out. So I said what I needed to say. I'm sure he said what he needed to say, and right now we moved past it, and that's all it is. But what an exciting way to start the show. What a great first phone call. Oh, Evan, what do you think, man?
That was interesting.
Thank you for calling CFP. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Chris.
What is up, Chris? How
I
you
live
doing,
in
brother?
Maryland. Doing well. I just
Awesome.
wanted to, I don't know if you guys are trying, I missed the opening, so I don't know if you're trying to avoid the Jameis, Winston, Tom Brady talk. But
No, you're good, man. Let's talk about it.
all right, yeah. So I mean, that article yesterday about Rick Stroud putting out that the Bucs are ready to go all in on Brady, which could mean anywhere from $30 to $40 million. I just don't see how it fits the logic of Bruce Arians when he says that they need that money to keep the defense. So if you sign Brady to let's say $35 million or $37 million, you're going to lose a lot of the key pieces you wanted. You're going to keep Shaq. You'll franchise tag him. Hopefully work out a long-term deal. But JPP players like that, they might be sued. They might be shown the door if that happens. So just want to hear your thoughts on that. And logically speaking, does that match up with the philosophy that Bruce Arians keeps preaching in the offseason?
I look at Brady as a move that goes back to the philosophy that Bruce set when he came in day one, and that was he wants to win now. And I can totally see that a lot of people look at Brady and they see a 43-year-old aging quarterback, a guy who wasn't able to make it happen last year in the playoffs, someone who's coming down a little bit. And I'll agree, I don't think Tom Brady has the arm strength or the deep ball accuracy that Jameis Winston does right now when you compare the two. But it goes back to that win now philosophy, because I'm sure a question that everybody in that building is asking themselves is, can you win a ring with Tom Brady, and can you win a ring with Jameis Winston? I think the safe answer with Jameis right now is I don't know, because we've never seen him in the playoffs. We've never seen him in that high-pressure situation. I mean, we have in overtime. Last game of the season, he was in that high-pressure situation, and, of course, a pick-six to end the game. It's hard to compare a person that you don't know with that situation with a guy like Tom Brady. I mean, the resume speaks for itself. In the playoff countless times, 6-time Super Bowl champion, one of the greatest to ever play the game. And with Bruce, if he believes enough that he can win now with Brady, he said on one of the NFL talk shows during the Combine, what are his plans with Tampa? He's like, I just want to win a ring. Winning a ring for him is what will keep him coaching longer. He said, I want to win a ring, and after that, I want to focus on getting another one. So he wants to win now. I mean, he's been saying that. And I think for him, Brady is maybe an option to think about that just because he's a little more proven in that sense. But, Evan, what do you think, man?
Yeah, so, I mean, Bruce Arians definitely wants to keep, all of his defensive free agents as he can. I mean, he wasn't lying about that. And like you said, Shaq Barrett's likely to be back either way. And then, you got Jason Pierre-Paul, Ndamukong Suh, and potentially Carl Nassib all hitting the market. So let's say, instead of giving, would you rather give that $35 million to Brady, or would you rather give, let's say $25 million to Winston? That's what the Bucs are really asking themselves right now, So, yeah, maybe signing a Tom Brady means that they can't bring back Ndamukong Suh or Jason Pierre-Paul. But right now, the Bucs have to be looking at it as, is it worth it? And a lot of fans have a lot of different opinions on if it is worth it. And really, it all depends on what your opinion of Tom Brady is and what your opinion of Jameis Winston is. If you think that Jameis Winston can still win and, can take you to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, then sure. Obviously you would say sign Winston and sign all the defensive free agents. But if you, think that Winston can't win and Tom Brady, you're sitting there, the greatest quarterback of all time, that's tempting. So maybe if you want to sign him, you end up saying, okay, it's going to hurt losing to Ndamukong Suh, but it's something that we want to do. So I think it's all about the perception of what you think of the two quarterbacks, or the two different options.
That's a great answer. Look, in the past, I've defended Tom Brady for countless years, never understood why people, on social media or, what's the guy in ESPN, Nick Wright, I believe he is. He's always going in about Tom Brady. I just think he has, something out for him. But look, I like Tom Brady. I think he's he's obviously the greatest of all time. But the age concerns me, and Peyton Manning, and it's hard. I know I'm not trying to compare the two, but Peyton Manning, I mean his arm, when that last year he was 39 years old when that arm went out. and it went fast, and I don't even think he expected it or saw it coming. And just 43 years old, it scares me that if you get halfway through the season and his arm just falls off, out of nowhere, you kind of just I don't.
I mean that's a risk you got to take.
Is looking at it now, if he's looking at the win now perspective, but what happens if that does happen? In a year, now what are you doing?
Well,
I just don't think
what
you
happens
walk away
if you
from
sign
a young quarterback.
What happens if you sign Jameis Winston long term and he throws another 25 interceptions this year? Then you're sort of stuck almost in the same boat, just with a younger quarterback.
And probably winning less games, if I have to guess.
Yeah, I get your point, but what do you say is percentage-wise, which one's more likely to happen? Winston throwing 25 interceptions? Or, because, I've just seen, I think it goes back to the year, 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl against the Rams. His arm was just, he couldn't make the throws, and they had to rely on Sony Michel to, keep them in the game and calm the rock. And I just don't. I'm not going to question if they'll change their offense that fits Tom Brady, because I think they would to some extent. I don't think they're going to ask him to go out there and throw 30, 35 yards each time. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think his age scares me the most out of anything.
I have to believe with Brady, the age is definitely scary because he's a guy who has said he wants to play until he's 45, maybe beyond that. And up until maybe last year, nobody knew when he was going to start to decline. I think we saw the first good bit of it last year. He wasn't fantastic, but he also wasn't working with a lot of weapons in New England. Now, in concerns to his arm, you kind of brought up, they're not going to be asking him to throw the ball 30, 40, 50 yards a game. I have to believe that Bruce is an experienced enough coach to where he can look at his offense, he can fine-tune it a little bit, and really open up the short passing game, because that's something that the Bucs just don't really have. We have a very productive offense, but it's not because we throw a bunch of slant routes during a game. Like it's up in the air. It's an air it out offense. And I think maybe they can open up that short passing game. They're going to invest in the running game if Brady comes in. And kind of talking about the short-term situation, or at least a year or 2 years from now, so I guess long-term in that sense. But, if you bring Brady in, I have to believe they're looking at the draft a little bit differently when it comes to when and where they would draft a QB. Because I think if they bring Brady in, they're going to draft a quarterback a little bit earlier than they would have if they just re-sign Jameis.
Yeah,
I agree.
I could agree with that. From that standpoint, I agree, but also from get a player that's going to contribute right away. Because my issue is you draft a QB and he's sitting behind Tom Brady for 2 years. Depending on if you get him in the second to 6th round or whatever, 7th round, or now you just 2 years you just wasted a draft pick just to sit on the bench just in case. And so, I know it's nitpicking, but
basically you're saying somebody that's not helping you right now.
Yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
So if you go and say you draft a quarterback in the 3rd round, I'll throw out a name, Jake Fromm, because I know many people have. But just use him as an example, whereas you could have probably gotten, another running back or wide receiver or edge rusher in the 3rd round that could contribute now. The edge rusher could just be a situational pass rusher, behind Shaq Barrett, come in on, 3rd down or 2nd down and for obvious passing situations, and you can just tee off. That's from a team building standpoint. I just don't want someone just holding a clipboard for 2 years instead of having someone that can win now or help win now.
And it's definitely a risk. So, we kind of talk about the risk that the Bucs are going to have to take. You really just have to kind of shoot from the hip. You have to hope that if you bring Brady in, he's going to be what you hope he can be. And, of course, Jameis Winston, if you bring him back, there's always the risk of, can he improve? Can he turn the turnovers down? Which I personally believe he can, but we just have to wait and see. Chris, we appreciate you calling in, buddy. We're going to get to a few more calls here on the show, but thanks for calling in, and go Bucs.
Thanks, guys. Awesome show.
Thank you.
Alrighty, that's our buddy Chris out of Tampa. He left us a voicemail on the last episode. Good guy, Chris. I like him on Twitter. He's a pretty funny guy. So we have got a lot to talk about. We kind of jumped into the Tom Brady situation there, the what if, and going back to the source of that, there was a report that came out just a few days ago, if not yesterday, I believe, that the Buccaneers are ready to go all in on Tom Brady, it seems. We had Griffin Greatness call in, and something ended up happening. It kind of glitched out, so we're going to take another call here and see hopefully Skype doesn't crash. CFP, what's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Braden Harris from St. Petersburg, Florida.
Hey, what's going on, Braden Harris from St. Petersburg, Florida? What do you want to talk about today?
I just wanted to say, if you were Jason Licht and you're kind of in the situation that the Bucs are in right now, I mean, I understand the concern about Tom Brady, and like personally for me, I root for Jameis all the way because he's a Florida guy, but I feel like there's a certain point of time where if we have Tom Brady, it's kind of like, I'm not saying it's bringing a winning culture immediately to Tampa, but it obviously wouldn't hurt. And definitely, I agree with you when you say Bruce Arians can like fine tune his offense a little bit and kind of bring the short game. But I don't think Tom Brady has a noodle arm by any means. But what would your preference be if you were Jason Licht? Would you either go with Jameis Winston or Tom Brady?
If I was Jason Licht and it was up to me to make that decision, I would want Jameis Winston. I've said this before on the show that I am a Jameis guy, and when you compare him and Brady, it would be exciting to have Tom Brady, but I think there's just a higher risk of him coming in here not performing. I would like to bring Tom Brady in on a 2 or 3, or not Tom Brady, I'm sorry. I would like to bring Jameis Winston back on a 2 or 3 year deal. Not necessarily give him the number that his camp seems to want. I've heard that the sweet spot is like 28, but nobody's really confirmed that yet. So I would maybe re-sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal, but I'm definitely picking Jameis over Brady at this point, just because in my mind, I think there's less room for the worst possible situation to happen. But who knows? I could pick Jameis and he goes out there and throws 35 interceptions. We really don't know. But if I were Jason Licht, that's what I would do, is bring Jameis back. Evan, what do you say, buddy?
Yeah, a lot of this has to do with potential contracts, and that's why I'd probably lean Jameis Winston, just because I think Winston's going to end up getting a little bit of a smaller contract than Tom Brady would, like salary-wise. So I just think that, Winston's upside right now, age is a big thing, right? If Tom Brady was 35 and still, considered like the GOAT or whatever and stuff like that, I don't think many people would be having this discussion. I think it would be easily Brady, because they think, this guy can play another 5 years. But right now, he showed a little bit of signs of slowing down. And I just think that Winston's upside, I'm willing to bet that he's not going to throw 30 interceptions next year. Unless, like I said, Rhett's the decision maker and he throws 35. But
yeah, right. That's the only instance that he would throw 35, by the way, is if I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think right now, looking in the long term, probably Winston's the best. But this year, if you're just talking about this year, if you had 1 year of the NFL left, I'd choose Tom Brady. But we're talking, the NFL's still going to be going on, so.
Who knows at this point?
All
this coronavirus.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I would definitely probably lean toward a 2-year deal with Jameis Winston, just because, 30 interceptions is definitely something that's cautionary and pretty scary. But we didn't really have an air raid offense, but we were passing the ball a lot. And which brings me to my next question. I was going to ask, who do you guys want at running back next year? Would you rather stay with Ronald Jones or Peyton Barber? Or would you rather us dip into free agency, or maybe even go in a trade to see if we can even get a better back?
Ooh,
me personally, yeah, for sure. Me personally, I'm a believer that they shouldn't draft a running back really that high. So I would stick with Ronald Jones, and I would probably sign a running back in free agency to complement him. Maybe not like a big name like Melvin Gordon, but a name I've brought up on the show a bunch is Chris Thompson from Washington. I think could really complement Jones. I like the strides that Jones made last year, and I just think giving him more touches, he'll just continue to develop. And I think Thompson would be a good, third down back for the Bucs to use in certain situations. So I would probably lean towards Jones and like a mid-tier free agency signing.
I'm kind of on the side with Evan as well, where I like Ronald Jones to be the featured back. I'd want it to be a scenario where he gets the majority of the carries. I think the best is yet to come for Ronald Jones, and if in the right situation next year, he really could have a career-defining season. But bringing someone in to complement him, and for me, I don't really care if we draft a running back in the third. Some names that people bring up all the time is Cam Akers, Jonathan Taylor, and then Evan had brought up in his battle plan as well, the kid out of LSU. I think it's Clyde. Is it Edwards-Helaire?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's another really talented guy that they could come in and do that job. So I don't know. I really don't. But I'd like a scenario where Rojo is the featured back. I'd like for him to really just get the credit he deserves, because he showed us some flashes, and he had some good particulars where he was really robbed of a beautiful stat line just because of penalties that brought it back. But I think he can do some work. He just needs someone to help him out, take some of the stress off.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like if he gets majority of the touches, I mean, absolutely, he shows flashes. I mean, he had some plays that you can kind of just tell are easily fixed. It's just kind of like easy football mistakes. That one fumble that kind of slipped out of his hands is one I can remember. But
yeah,
I think if he gets majority of the touches, I feel like he could definitely become a back that we kind of lean toward. And so, I mean, Peyton Barber, power back, he'll fight for every yard. I love him to death, but it's kind of like at that point where if we continue with Jameis and he's kind of throwing every single down, and we could use like a running back that we can count on. Say, listen, if he gets a hole, he can get at least 8 yards.
Yeah, well, and I personally, I think you've probably seen the best of Peyton Barber. I think he's a solid player, but I don't think he's a good/great player. I think Ronald Jones' ceiling is obviously much higher, and that's why I would let Peyton Barber walk probably, and then be able to sign a guy that you could throw in on passing downs on third down, like a Chris Thompson, or there's a few other free agents out there that will be available, that are basically receiving backs. Deion Lewis was just released by the Titans today.
Absolutely,
that's an option.
Yeah.
So yeah. So those are options. I think that, like I said, I think you've seen the max of Peyton Barber. He probably won't be back. And then I think Ronald Jones, I think he can take another step. And I think he could. I don't think he's going to end up being a top 5 running back, but a 1,000-yard back. And I think that with the right amount of touches, I think he should be able to get there. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And my last question, then I'm going to let you guys get to another caller. But regarding the draft, I mean, we kind of have a pick where we can kind of dip into many positions. I mean, the big one I'm seeing is K'Lavon Chasen. That's like the one I've probably seen the most. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of my friends, they want us to go to Grant Delpit or Xavier McKinney or a bunch of like these safeties. And at that corner from Florida, people are talking about now, so I think it's C.J. Henderson or something. Mm-hmm. But, I mean... and then I really, really, really don't think we're going to go with a quarterback. But I really don't think that at all, especially with the reports that we're going all in on Tom Brady. But who do you guys think we're drafting? I personally think it's K'Lavon Chasen, but if you guys have any other opinions.
Well, K'Lavon Chasen is my guy. I love him. Personally, I would hope that one of the 4 offensive tackles is on the board. But I understand that, that's not the most likely scenario, and there is a scenario where they're all 4 off the board. Then I would look to draft maybe Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina. But, I mean, there's a possibility he could be off the board. So I definitely like Jason a lot if all them guys are off the board. And especially, it's time to start thinking about, like, the future. So let's say you sign Jason Pierre-Paul back. It's going to be a 1 or 2 year deal. You need to prepare for life after Jason Pierre-Paul. And I think that Jason right now can give you an impact, and then in the immediate future, he can give you an impact. So I think he would definitely be a smart pick. Grant Delpit, I'm not really a big fan of him. Xavier McKinney, I like his game. I just don't think the Buccaneers should be drafting a safety or any secondary player in the first round, honestly. They've spent enough resources there in the draft. As for quarterback, they're not going to be drafting a quarterback in the first round unless something crazy and like Tua or Justin Herbert ends up being there, but that's extremely unlikely. So Jason at 14 would be a pretty good fit, though.
I like the Bucs taking an offensive tackle if it's available in the first round. I definitely want
if it's available,
Yeah, I definitely want them to go trenches. My perfect pick, like I said, in his offensive tackle. Any of the 4 named big guys, Tristan Wirfs being one of them. I believe the other guy out of Bama, I forget his name. I feel so bad.
Jedrick Wills.
Yes, Jedrick Wills.
There's him. I think it's Andrew Thomas.
Andrew Thomas out of Georgia.
And Mekhi Becton.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Javon Kinlaw was another name that you brought up. I'd be fine with Kinlaw, but as time passes by, I start to think he's probably going to be taken in the top 10. I can see Jacksonville picking him up for sure. I mean, you look at the situation.
You don't think Jacksonville will go corner?
No, man, not the way that, because they just lost what's his name, Ngoku. He's already made it.
Yeah, but they don't have any corners.
Yeah, but they're losing their. I don't know. You build a team in the trenches, and I think the Jags.
You think Kinlaw's going to go to Jacksonville?
I think he might, but I could be wrong.
Okay,
that's the beauty of opinions.
I mean, I could see that. I could see him going to the Jets as well.
Yeah,
I think
a lot of mock drafts I had him picking at the Jets.
I think Indy right before the Bucs could be the spot.
Ooh, you never know.
All right.
Braden, we appreciate you calling in, buddy. We're gonna get. All right, we had a call come in, and the call connected fine. I just couldn't hear.
Time?
Yeah, it did work.
All right. John Willard from Ocala, Florida.
What's up, John Willard from Ocala, Florida? Excuse me. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to hear y'all's opinion on the running back situation. Y'all like Peyton Barber and whoever and Ronald Jones?
We kind of talked about this with the last guy, or I think the guy before him, but we'll jump back into it really quick. I think the Bucs would be fine for mixing up that running back room, whether it's bringing in another guy in free agency or the draft. I'd be fine with any of the running backs you can draft in the 2nd or 3rd round possibly, or any of the names you can bring in free agency. I think Peyton Barber will probably be one of the. Dario Ogunbowale is another question mark. But I do have faith in Ronald Jones, and I think that if you give him the ball a little bit more next season, he could be the guy for us.
All right, I respect that.
Evan, are you there, man?
Yes, sir. Just like we had talked about, I think that Ronald Jones has a lot of potential. He's still like a home run hitter type of running back to me. But he proved a little bit more to me that he can run between the tackles, and that's something that I didn't really see, as much of as I would have liked in college. But he's in USC, they're running a lot of spread stuff. But this year, he was able to run between the tackles a good bit and actually broke off a few good gains. So, I mean, I don't mind the running back group. Like Rhett said, I think Peyton Barber is likely out. Dario Ogunbowale, his status is up in the air, and TJ Logan, there's no guarantee he could be back. So, I think the only guy that's in that running back room right now that's guaranteed to come back is probably Jones. So, there might be some turnover there. I think they could hit free agency for that. I personally would hit free agency for that. I honestly think if I had to put money, I would say they're probably going to draft one. That's what it sounds like. No matter who the quarterback is, they're going to draft one in the 2nd or 3rd round, probably. Running back, whether that's a guy like Cam Akers or Clyde Edwards-Helaire or J.K. Dobbins, one of those guys, possibly. So I definitely think there's going to be a new running back in the room, and hopefully the run game's improved.
Yeah, I agree with y'all on the new running back, but I mean, that Ronald Jones thing, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. come on, man. Ronald Jones is terrible.
Oh.
He's been a middle-tier running back for the past, 4 years.
I mean, I don't know, man. I think at USC, he broke a bunch of records there, and I mean, he didn't get drafted in the second round for nothing.
Look at the situation.
Records.
Look at the situation he was in, though. Rookie year, Dirk Cutter was our head coach, and Dirk Cutter barely used him. I mean, he had less than, I think, 30 carries his rookie year, 30 or 40 carries. That's ridiculous. Over a 16-game span, he just didn't get the playing time to really get in there, take some hits, get used to the NFL, and learn how to be a better running back. He showed us some good glimpses. He had multiple 100-yard games. The Rams game in particular I brought up earlier on the show, that was kind of taken away from him. So, in a sense, I think he is still unproven in a way. I'm not saying he's going to be our starter for years to come, but I think if he gets fed the ball more and he is just able to get his nose in plays more often, he can learn and he can take a step. I really think he's able to.
I mean, yeah, I guess we could give him another shot, but I mean, I was almost afraid to come on here and disagree with y'all because, I'm in the comment section
come after you.
And I look around, I mean, do any of your followers actually disagree with you? I mean, I don't even want to comment because they're sucking you off so hard.
No, dude.
Plenty.
We have tons of people. I mean, I don't know if you heard the 2 other people that called in and told us how much we suck and our opinions are terrible. We have people disagree with us all the time. We don't have any beef with anyone who disagrees with us. That's the beauty of opinions, and I think that's what encourages great content on shows like this, is when you have different opinions, you get those people together, and you talk about it. We're not out here to come after anyone if they don't agree with us. We're just here to speak our piece and root on the same team that we all do.
Yeah, I mean, that's respectable what you guys were doing earlier. You dismissed those guys pretty well, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm disagreeing a bit too much with y'all. But y'all have a nice night.
Hey, that's fine. I like it. It forms an active discussion, and you appreciate it.
Yeah. We appreciate you calling in, buddy. Skype just crashed on me again for some damn reason, so we're going to open that back up and see if we can't take a few more phone calls before we wrap up and get out of here. But no, guys, we encourage all forms of communication, of conversation, all sorts of different opinions here once it's all put together. We got a call coming in from the 757. This might be our last call of the night. Let's pick it up, see where they're from. CFP, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm Steve Van Horn. I'm from Middletown, Rhode Island.
Hey, what's up, Steve? What you want to talk about today, my friend?
This isn't really a Bucs question, but I was wondering who your top 5 QBs are going into the next season.
Okay, that's a pretty good one. I like the break from the Bucs talk. Let's do this. Evan should get a kick out of this one once we get him back in here. So, top 5 QBs ranked going into the season. Well, let me sit here and think about all the quarterbacks going into next season and come up with a little comprehensive list here. I think we've got Evan Wanish back in the call. Yes, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, Evan, and if you heard our buddy Steve, he was asking us our top 5 NFL quarterbacks going into next season. I'm going to throw up my list, and then you're welcome to follow it up. So, number 1, I think he's going to be probably the best quarterback in the NFL for many, many years to come. It's got to be Patrick Mahomes. I just truly think that the guy is a next-level athlete, and I mean, you see all the stuff that's coming out. Not only did he win a Super Bowl this year, but he didn't know how to read defenses until, 7 months ago? The guy is a freak athlete, and I think he's going to continue to be the best for years to come. I mean, he's just got footballs in his DNA. His little helix and his DNA strands, I forgot what it's called because I don't know the big science names, but it's just made out of different footballs. So I think he's number 1 for me. Number 2 will probably be Lamar Jackson. I mean, we can sit here and talk about quarterbacks who can sling and throw the ball all day. Lamar Jackson had a ridiculous regular season run. He's like Mike Vick, but better. And I think teams just really don't know how to game plan for him. I don't think there is any game planning for him. He's like a Swiss Army knife in the pocket. So Lamar Jackson is number 2 for me. Number 3. Number 3 might be Deshaun Watson. I like Deshaun Watson a lot. I think he's really good for Houston. I think he's been good for Houston. And I think he's going to be good for years to come. So Deshaun Watson is my number 3. I'm really racking my brain here thinking 4 and 5. You know what? Actually, let me fix my list here. Number 3 is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. I think he hasn't had all the pieces in Green Bay. He kind of had a lackluster year this year. Probably one of his worst years that he's had in the NFL. So I'll put Aaron Rodgers at number 3. Number 4 will be Drew Brees. I think he's great. I think he's awesome when he's playing for the Saints. They beat us twice a year. You know, it's we have to play him twice a year, and we have to see how good Drew Brees is, especially at the age that he is. So I think Drew Brees is 4. And number 5. Oh, man. And we're not talking about, like, of all time. We're talking about right now. So...
Yeah, right now.
Number 5 was a toss-up for me between 2 quarterbacks. It was Tom Brady and Russell Wilson, but I'm going to go Russell Wilson for my number 5. I think he's another one of those next-level quarterbacks. I think he's just now entering the prime of his career, and I think he's just going to keep getting better and better. Evan, I'll toss it over to you. What's your top 5?
All right, yeah. So, my 1 and 2 are the same. Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. 3, I'm actually going to go with Russell Wilson. I just think that, you know, I was for a second there, I thought you weren't even going to put him on your list, and I thought that would have been crazy. So, I just think Russell Wilson. I mean, there are times where the Seahawks, just the whole team isn't really like doing well, and he just carries them anyway. You always have a shot with him in at quarterback. Number 4, I'm probably going to go with Deshaun Watson. I do like Deshaun Watson a lot. I think that the Texans finally have done a better job of protecting him. Of course, you know, his receiving threats are still really good, and I just think that, you know, another year of development for him when he's already been really good, I just think it's going to benefit him. And then number 5, you know, this one is probably the trickiest one, because there's a few different guys that I think it could go to. You know, like I'm trying to project of like this season and thinking I'm not going to say Tom Brady. I'll probably go Aaron Rodgers. Just because I think that Rodgers showed this year, while, you know, like Rhett said, it wasn't like his most like impressive year stat wise. I think he showed he can still sling it and still fit the ball in some really tight spots. You know, he didn't throw as many touchdowns as, you know, he sometimes does. His interceptions were he only threw 4. So, you know, I think he showed that he can still play and get the Packers into the playoffs. So yeah, I'm gonna go Aaron Rodgers. So really good question. I really appreciate the question.
Yeah, I love breaking up the monotony, man. We don't have to talk about the Bucs. We don't have to talk about Brady in particular. It's nice to get a good general football question. Thanks for calling in, Steve. We appreciate you, bud.
Can I comment on your thing on your list?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what's up?
All right, so I feel like putting Aaron Rodgers up there is kind of like not that good. I think neither of you mentioned Dak Prescott one time. He had a hell of a season this year. I don't know how y'all couldn't put him in top 5. Still think about Brady, because Brady, he's a system QB in my opinion. He is not good anymore. And Aaron Rodgers, he's proven that he is on the decline. I mean, the Packers were the worst 13-3 team I've ever seen in history of the NFL. And to put Deshaun Watson, I feel, is not that good either.
I took him off of my list. I thought I was putting him on, but then I kind of got myself together. He wasn't on my top 5.
Okay.
I don't know.
I feel like I agree with y'all with Patrick Mahomes at 1. I feel Dak Prescott's number 2. Lamar Jackson, I can't trust him yet. He had one good season so far, so I feel like he needs a couple more seasons to really show that he can be up there. And then, you know, I got my man Nathan Peterman at number 4. He's one of the best QBs of all time, I swear. And then number 5, I'm probably, what's his name on the Saints?
Drew Brees.
No, not him. The other QB.
Taysom Hill.
Yes, Taysom Hill. He is the Swiss Army knife that you guys should have mentioned, not Lamar Jackson.
He only has, what, like 5 pass attempts in his career?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you never know. He could be a starter somewhere else. Steve, we appreciate you calling in, buddy.
All right.
What a list.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What a list.
That was good. Yeah, I don't think Dak Prescott's a top 5 quarterback. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't think so. Call, and that'll be the last one for the episode. I really noticed that Skype just doesn't work when we get those high volume of calls. And if you call in and it says that the caller is unavailable, it just means that the line is busy. We got a call coming in right now from the 352 to wrap up the show. CFP, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Griffin Greatness, and I finally got it to work.
Oh, I'm so glad we were able to get you connected, buddy. Sorry about all the other stuff that's going on. Let me see if I can get Evan back in this call here.
No, it's fine. I'm happy it worked.
You're all good. So what do you want to talk about, my man?
All right, so 4 days ago, Computer Plank posted an article saying that Ryan Griffin should get a shot in 2020. And the main talking point was that people like Kyle Allen and Gardner Minshew had been doing well in the preseason, so it would make sense that someone that did better than him in the preseason should be as good in the regular season. And that if Ryan's doing as good as he is there, then there's no reason why we shouldn't start him. Like, if he is on the roster, and he's been staying on the roster for 7 years, he's been in the league 7 years, but in the Bucs 5 years, constantly going from roster to roster, he should have gotten a chance by now, right?
I'll tell you what, man. I'm glad you called in. This is a great one to end the show. So you brought up the Pewter Plank putting out that article a little while ago that says Ryan Griffin should get a shot. And I will say this. I think if Ryan Griffin got a shot, let's say the worst possible case scenario happens with the Bucs in free agency. They fumble the bag with Tom Brady. They aren't able to go back and get Jameis Winston. They're left without one of the top name free agent quarterbacks, and they end up starting Ryan Griffin. Let's say that's the scenario.
That's the best possible scenario. I don't know what you mean.
So I think having Ryan Griffin with one drive of NFL regular season experience, a ton of preseason games, I honestly believe that it would go like the average rookie year. I think maybe we'd see some rookie mistakes from Ryan Griffin, not because of age, but just because of the lack of regular season experience. I'm sure he could come in and ball out. He looked fairly good in his drive against the Colts. He was able to move the ball. We got a first down. That was great. But I think it would be I think it would be an adjustment for him. So I think if the Bucs were to give him a shot, it could be a productive season, but it's a risk you're willing to take. And right now we're talking about risks being taken at the quarterback position. So why not throw Ryan Griffin into the mix? Why the hell not? Evan, what do you think, man?
No. I'm going to come out and say that right now. Okay.
No, you can't give him the benefit of the doubt for just one time.
I like Ryan Griffin. I like Ryan as a person. All right. I've met him before, but the dude, so yeah, he has done well in a lot of preseasons. Like, I'll give you that. Like, he is actually, like, every single preseason, he's one of the best, like, statistical guys.
He's the preseason messiah.
But he's also playing at that point, he's been the third quarterback most of the time in Tampa. So at that point, he's playing in like the third quarter, fourth quarter of a preseason game against guys that are likely going to be cut the very next day. So, I just, he has success there. But like actually, like football speaking, like football player wise, I just don't think he has like an NFL quarterback arm. I just don't think he has enough zip on it to be able to make the throws. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, I think, has shown he has some zip. I just don't think Griffin has a lot of zip. You don't really see many fastballs from him. You see a lot of sort of lollipops and stuff. And, I mean, he's got some nice touch, but I just don't think he has the arm to be a serious competitor in the quarterback situation.
Yeah. Do you know who I think they said the same thing about in the early 2000s?
Who was that?
Who?
Tom Brady.
No, okay. No, they didn't.
6th-round draft
Yeah.
pick coming up, making a name for himself. All he needs is a chance, baby.
Tom Brady took
He's
his
a chance.
chance and won a Super Bowl with it. All right, and I'm sorry, but no. If Ryan Griffin hasn't gotten his shot yet, unfortunately, I don't think it's coming.
Yeah.
Griffin
It
Greatness,
might.
we
You
appreciate
never
you. Sorry, go ahead.
It might. You never know.
You never know. We appreciate you calling in, buddy. Guys, go follow Griffin Greatness on Instagram. He is the #1 Ryan Griffin fan page, our third-string quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Make sure you go give him a follow. Thanks for calling in, buddy. Go Bucs.
Yeah, no problem, man. Goodbye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up the CFP Live call-in show for this week. We wanted to jump on, kind of just have a good time with you guys. I mean, we have a really good time with these live call-in shows, and we just wanted to kind of offer a break from everything else that's going on. It is not a good week for sports. At the moment, we really don't know when things are going to come back, and the worry is that this isn't something that's going to be gone in a few weeks. But the best thing that we can tell you is stay informed, listen to every Bucs podcast, because now you have time, and wash your hands.
Plenty of time.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
You got to do those three things.
Be smart. Just be smart as you can, and stay safe. I've never seen anything really like this. It's crazy. I've never seen a single day where there was 24 hours really where in the span hockey is done, basketball is done for now at least. March Madness is canceled. And just it's horrible, but it's also the right decision. Safety comes first, and hope just everybody out there is staying safe, being smart, being, like you said, informed, knowing what the symptoms of coronavirus are, and knowing how to treat them. If you feel sick, please do something about it. Just try to keep a distance. Listen to a lot of the people that are telling that go on these shows, like they're giving you advice on how to avoid it. And I don't really like to listen to a lot of those shows, but their advice, like, they're doctors, so they know what to do. And just like I said, just try to stay as safe as you can. It's spreading really fast, and hopefully we don't have to come on here and not have anybody to talk to. So hopefully the free agency doesn't get delayed at all or anything like that. I know there's some things with the draft that the draft might not have fans there, which would really suck for the NFL, but we'll see what happens. Just like I said, though, biggest thing, stay safe, stay informed, and just wash your hands, be smart.
Yeah, folks, that's all there is to it. Stay safe, wash your hands, stay informed, and take care of each other. That's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who called in. We really do appreciate you. We're sorry that the program seemed to crash dozens of times, but it's what you have to go.